But I noted your response to Ms. Abrahams earlier, the first question around wanting more disabled people to be able to work. And I think that's something that we all would like to see, that employers actually make reasonable adjustments for people to access work. However, there are a group of people which the government's own assessments show that they are the most severely disabled group. These are people with limited capability for work-related activity. And for the future ones of those, they will be £3,000 worse off. This isn't a small group of people. This is potentially 730,000 people. So I want to ask you right now about how people are feeling about this. It's not often something we talk about in politics, but I think it is important because it's fair to say that your proposed changes to welfare reform have caused quite a bit of stress, I think, particularly among people with disabilities and their families. I'm sure many members have had similar things, but just some samples as it's come into my inbox. I am beyond stressed with anticipation of losing money. I have £700 to live on this month. Another one, the proposed cuts to disability benefits have left me feeling full of panic about the future and extremely let down. And the last one, I feel so sick, physically sick. The whole process is horrid. Please represent me. Prime Minister, what would you say to them?
Well, I think this question of how people feel and values is really important. And that's why sort of standing back from the technicalities of any changes, the guiding principles are really important, which is those people that do need support and protection should get support and protection. Those that want to bridge into work should be supported by the government to bridge into work. At the moment, my own analysis is that pretty well all of the rules make it harder for people to get into work, not easier for them to get into work. But equally, those that can work should work. And we need to just apply those principles to the work that we are doing as we go along.
Prime Minister, my question was specifically about the people that are very unlikely to ever be able to work, most severely disabled, of which in future there would be £3,000 worse off. And I just wanted to ask how you're working with the disabilities charities and organisations for which none of them that I see have welcomed these plans. And I just wondered, I know that we're going through a consultation period.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask whether this is a consultation period or the policy itself or the impact of this policy, because I think that is very different. Will this consultation period actually alter or be able to change or have to bring people together on this in a way that we haven't been so far?
Well, I do want to bring people together on this, and it's very important we take different views into account. It's also important for people who have disabilities, which means they can never work, that they're not constantly reassessed, because certainly that's something I've picked up as a constant cause of anxiety. And that's why I personally think we should be doing more protection, a premium for those that are in the most severe category and never going to be able to work, and also relieve them of the pressure of being reassessed when we know that the reassessment isn't going to make any material difference. So I do think there are things that we can do that will reform the system for the better. And certainly we need to take views into account in relation to that.
Okay. And we all agree that we do want to see people and more people into work. But I just wanted to ask why it is that the government have looked at disabled people first. One of my inquiries from the committee was around netball misogynic and people missing work due to heavy periods, painful periods, endometriosis, fibroids, ovarian cysts. Cost the UK economy nearly £11 billion every year. That's £11 billion. Would it perhaps not be more effective or just as effective to deal with the crisis in women's health? And what's the plan from the government to tackle that?
Well, there's a lot of work going into women's health across the government, and it's very important we do that as well. And there are bits of guidance and legislation that we are bringing forward. So it is very important we bear down on that for all the reasons that you've said.
Prime Minister, you can take around average for a woman to be diagnosed, only diagnosed alone, 8 to 10 years for endometriosis, one of the most painful, debilitating illnesses there are for women's reproductive cells. And if we are taking 8 to 10 years, that is 8 to 10 years that a woman is potentially out of the workplace, which is why we are seeing the cost of the economy at £11 billion. If we're looking at effective ways to get people into work, perhaps there are other areas that we should be exploring as well.
I completely agree with that. And that sort of time frame is just completely unacceptable. And we've tasked the Health Secretary with reforming the NHS, and in particular dealing with health inequalities as he does so, because it is an example which is simply unacceptable. It's not capable of justification, and the health service needs to be set up to deal with it. And I think it could and should be. That isn't just about pumping more money in. I do think there are other things that we can do in the health service, but that will be part of the work that the Health Secretary has already been charged with doing, because the example he gives a very bad example. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that that could be justified because I'm not.
It's fabulous of me. Thank you very much.